Hey there, welcome back. So it's time for my second quarterly wrap up, and I'm just going to be talking about all the books that I've read in the last 3 months. I do like to put a little tiny bit of spin on this just because I don't really like watching these videos too often, the wrap ups. So my cat's over there causing havoc, so we're going to discuss these books also in terms of whether or not I think the characters are cat people, dog people, or some other animal. Why? Because I feel like it. So I need to refer to notes to know what I read each month. But starting in April, I read Such a Quiet Place. This one's pretty easily definitely a cat person type book because I'm pretty sure the characters even own a cat. It's the premise of the book takes place with a woman has been convicted of a murder, murdering her two neighbors. However, the conviction has been overturned as legal technicalities. So the woman has returned to the community where the murder took place. It's told, I think, entirely from the point of view of the roommate slash owner of the house. I really like this book in terms of did she do it, did she not? If she didn't, what really happened? Was it someone else? Overall, just a really good book. I pretty much binged this in just a couple days. I really like the ending. It's a good, slow thriller. Very slow, character-based. Not a whole lot of twists and turns, and it really could have used some more red herrings and stuff to make me guess what was going on. So little notes, but overall I did really enjoy this book. Next was Storm of Swords, which is reminding me that I'm very far behind now in my Game of Thrones slash Song of Ice and Fire read. But besides the point, again, really enjoyed this book. It's a lot of people's favorites. I don't have to say too much about Song of Ice and Fire. There's a whole video where I talk about it when it's all fresh in my mind. Cat person, dog person, I think the main characters of this kind of go either way. I think this was Tyrion's book, so clearly his family's a lion, but he's a baby dragon. He likes dragons. Let's go with what are they called? Bearded dragon. He would have a pet bearded dragon, I think. Ugh. Okay, next book is Never Saw Me Coming. I was so hopeful for this book. I was so hopeful. Probably a cat person. These characters are. They're all like psychopaths, but make it quirky. They're in school, their education's paid for in exchange for taking part of this experiment. Psychopaths, sociopaths, can they be, not rehabilitated, try and just understand how they think and feel. So they'll get like a little message buzz on their phone, they gotta answer a quick questionnaire, what are you feeling in this moment, what are you doing, yada yada yada. Someone in the experiment is murdered, there's a bunch of plot points. This book felt so shallow to me. Like, here's like depth of story. Like, your plot goes along and you branch out with different narrative plot points, and then those plot points explore different themes and ideas, and one plot point leads to another, and you get to the deeper meaning and stuff like that. It all like hovered around the top to me. Here's a plot point, here's an unrelated plot point, here's another unrelated plot point. It's not like it was cause and effect and examining any like emotions or themes. It really just felt too shallow to me. I liked one character relationship, which says a lot about me as a person that I didn't really need to know about. But, I did not enjoy this book. I was so bored. But the first half I enjoyed, but the later half, the premise had just gotten annoying to me. I was so fed up with those characters. I already said that they're cat people. Maybe a little showboaty. They might also like parrots. Nice and colorful, standing out kind of thing, and wanting to hear their own voice. Okay, next I read A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo, John Oliver's book. Clearly a rabbit kind of people, but it's just a cute little story about a boy rabbit's getting married to another boy rabbit, so positive vibes and just sweet and cute. And then there's a stink bug who tells him, no, boy bunnies can't marry other boy bunnies, you have to marry a girl bunny. And they're like, no, we love each other, so we're getting married. Do I prefer the idea of them getting married after longer than one date? Yes. Would I prefer they have maybe a pretend marriage the way like kids do sometimes? Sure. Do I care about any of that? No, 5 stars. Come on. It's adorable. It's a bunny. The artwork is so cute. Yes. Those Across the River. Another 5-star one. I guess obviously it's going to be another dog person book for reasons very prominent by the cover. Again, I gave this 5 stars. It was a good book. I enjoyed all the characters. I don't actually have that much to say about it. I went into more detail when I was talking about extreme horror books over there. This was my dabbling into extreme horror. This one was my lowest level category of mainstream, but still got some taboo-ish topics in it. I really got nothing more to say. It feels like a classic horror story. Like from the old time classic horrors, but modern day. So modern day writing, modern day pacing, modern day character work, but it really feels like a classic monster story. All Her Little Secrets. I'm not actually sure what kind of animal pet these characters would have. I'm leaning towards something that feels something important and give you some prestige, because we're a lawyer, we have secrets, and we want to keep those secrets to ourselves. So it is a lawyer who finds her boss has been murdered, and she leaves the crime scene because she's not going to be involved in all this. She's got a history in her past. There's some great family dynamics. We need a family-friendly pet. She gets wrapped up in the murder investigation. What did I give this book? I gave this 3.5 stars. My issue being the biggest thing was, she's a lawyer, so she should know not to talk to the cops without representation, like criminal prosecutor or defense lawyer representation, but she does. Like, these kind of thriller books, they need a good reason for why the main character doesn't go to the police in the first place, and then, which this book really doesn't do, and then there's so much of making just stupid decisions when you're supposed to be a really smart, well-educated character. I appreciate there was a lot of representation, but talking about racism, overt, institutionalized, internalized, all that was really well handled. I appreciate some of it was done more subtly, some of it was really in your face, and both worked very well. Yeah, still don't know what kind of pet I feel like this character would not have a pet. She's very focused on her career and her drives and just getting away from her past. So I can't see her having a dog or cat or anything, because that would be something that would tie her maybe to childhood. Maybe a parrot. It's just a very nice, elegant bird, but that could reveal her secrets. So also no. Goldfish? Probably a goldfish. Lakewood, another, yeah, I gave this one honestly 2.5 stars. I didn't enjoy it too much. But this is 100% a me issue. I appreciate so much, like, the comparison for, it's an African-American woman who agreed to take part in a medical study about, I think it's about memory and stuff like that and how it affects her, but there's a lot of, like, disorientation. So the point of the book is, like, losing control and your body autonomy and just having yourself be subjected to all these weird experiments and the abuse that she takes from it and the history of society's experimentation on people of color. And yeah, that is all very important, but there's a lot of mistaken memories, loss of memories, and I was confused. That was the thing. I like to understand the books that I'm reading, and I did not understand what was going on. So maybe if there was a second perspective of someone outside, maybe one of her family members, some really good family work here, trying to locate where she is and what's happening to her, and maybe they're getting the letters that she's writing. I think that would have just been a way for someone outside the experiment who isn't very loopy is the wrong word, who's just having these memory issues and is being confused, without that aspect being translated to a separate character so they could piece the plot together. I needed someone to piece the plot together because I didn't know what was going on with the plot. So that's 100% of me issue. This is a very good book, very well rated and loved online. Yeah, something for pets. I'm actually like going back to my idea of like the fish, like a nice school of fish. Looks like a very big family aspect, and you get like the little school swimming. Maybe cats, maybe dogs, just something that they'd have a lot of, a family bond to the pets. That'd be nice because it's a very good impact on family. The next one I read is Full Moon. Clearly, Dresden Files, 5 stars. At this stage, we are definitely in Harry's cat pet thing. He has his pet cat, Mister, and he's still kind of isolated and doesn't have a lot of people around him. He likes being by himself and just solving his own problems. No, agree with that. Full Moon, I mentioned 5 stars. I love the Dresden Files so much. That reread was so much better than the first time I read it. He is dealing with, obviously, werewolves, if you can't tell by the title. And there is finally just introducing his connections and his friends and his allies and just building himself up compared to the first book where he was completely by himself. So really love that. Murder on the Oriental Express. I DNF'd this book 1 star, hated every second of it. I was so bored. There was so much racism in this that even I couldn't get past. I say even I. That it just was blatant and was driving me crazy. Then it was just like leaps in logic. This is supposed to be a detective, and we just jumped to so many conclusions for, oh, this person was murdered. Well, clearly it's because he kidnapped a child a very long time ago, and blah, 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 and clearly this happened. And I'm like, how? What evidence do you have for this? What's going on? I know the twist of this book because pop culture. I was not reading it to get to it. I don't know what point I DNF'd it. It was not for me. I don't even know if I'll ever read an Agatha Christie again because I could not take this book. I could not take this writing. They do not get pets. No pets for you. Okay. Into May. In my dreams, I hold a knife. BookTube and the internet lied to me because everyone said this would be a fantastic book. I was so lied to. 1 star. I rant review up there. I love a good selfish character, but this person was so selfish because of their insecurities, and I acknowledge those insecurities were very well written, but I do not want to read about a character whose core personality is, I am worth nothing unless other people think I have value, so I need to build myself up so they think I have value, and I'll do it by tearing everyone else down. I hated it. The Goodreads reviewer who said this character exuded main character energy, I completely agree. That is what it felt like. I hated every second of it. I understand if other people enjoy that. Basically, person was murdered back in university, I'm pretty sure. 10 years later, we're having a reunion, and they're finding out what actually happened. We're jumping back and forth between 2 timelines. I should have loved this book, and I hated it. As for the pet you get, you don't deserve a pet either. But if I had to give you one, something... I'm going back to parrots just because they're very showy and very colorful, and it makes you stand out if you have one. The Omen. Clearly Damien gets a dog. Read it for my Do the Classics kind of hold up video, and 3 stars, pretty average. If you know the twist going in, which I'm pretty sure everyone does, then it doesn't really hold up on its own. Not really. I appreciate where it is in its place in pop culture. That's all really I got to say about that one. The Shining. Okay, I reread this one for my reading Stephen King in publication order. It's going very badly, by the way. I'm on the stand, and I cannot get through that book. It is so long, and I care about none of the characters. But we're not talking about that one. So The Shining. Read it in high school. Despised it. I gave this 4 stars on reread. The pacing is still really, really bad in my opinion. It's really slow, but I just love the characters so much more than I did in high school. I appreciate the writing so much more, the depth that everything goes into. Highly recommend this book. I still don't think it's worth the hype around it, but it's definitely a good King book. Just got to get past the pacing or just use the audiobook instead. Denny needs a dog because nice family, wholesome, whatever year this was written in, American Dream vibes. Yeah, family dynamic. They need a dog. Good Girl's Guide to Murder. No pets for you either. No pets. You had a dog in the book and you did not deserve him. People rave and love this book. Oh my god, did I hate it? I filmed a rant review and did not post it because I felt I was being too mean, and honestly it was toned down, but I just couldn't post it on its own. I'm going to have to do a video where I just read a bunch of YA books and see if YA horror thrillers are even for me. Girl is doing a research project, final high school graduation thingamajig project, where she is investigating a murder that happened a couple years back. The reason she chose to investigate this murder is flat and stupid. Why everyone is talking to her and just randomly exposition dumping their life story and all the events that happened, I don't know. Does she do very stupid things and lie to people and manipulate people? And there's such cringy dialogue that it hurt me, and I'm hoping was a joke, that they were just making fun of how people think teenagers talk. Yeah. I will eventually talk more about this book, but my God, 1 star. Okay. This is How You Lose the Time War. Sadly, I only gave it 2 stars. I'm happy I finally read it. I maintain in my original video where I said it's just too smart for me. Yeah, I didn't understand what was going on. I wanted more on the Time War itself, who these characters' organizations were, and what the purpose was and what was going on, but that just wasn't the point of the story. I greatly appreciated how we started with like a hostile kind of relationship. They're not making fun of each other. They're antagonizing each other and saying, I'm better than you. And then slowly accepting that they're each very competent in their roles. There's the word. In the positions that they have in this war. And then it just becomes more flirtatious, and then they fall in love, and it's very cute. I just need a more narrative-driven plot, and I didn't really understand a lot of the plot of what was going on. How to Pronounce Knife. Okay, this was a very good book. I don't like short stories. What did I give this one? I think I still gave it a good rating, didn't I? Yeah, I gave it 3.5. I enjoyed it. How to Pronounce Knife, collection of short stories. Again, I don't really like short stories. I prefer either a novella or a full-length novel, but a lot of good commentary on just growing up in a new country, not leaving your old culture behind, but how do you incorporate your family history with where you are now. And my favorites 2 stories in this being the start and end of the book, Picking Worms and, of course, How to Pronounce Knife. Those were 2 really good short stories in this collection. And for someone who does not like short stories really at all, I've never found a collection that I've liked and given more than 3 or 4 stars. Really, I don't think I've given one 4 stars. I do recommend this one. I recognize the short story issue is a me thing. What kind of pets should they have? I'm going to lean back towards cats just because I've been to Laos and there are a lot of cats there, at least the area that I was in, and I feel that would be a good reminiscence of their home and history. Oh, I forgot to mention How Did You Lose the Time War. I'm sorry. I'll also go with birds because they're on the cover and they're very pretty and also unable to control or they're going to do what they want to do. Confessions. I loved Confessions. 5 stars and a new favorite. I loved Confessions so much. A teacher is out for revenge on the students responsible for her daughter's death. It is told from multiple perspectives, and it's examining the same time frame event over those multiple perspectives. So there is a lot of repetitiveness in the storytelling narrative, and there are big blocks of text. It does feel like a monologue, which are 2 things I don't think I normally like. But oh my God, this was so good. The twist, these psychopathic characters, these narcissistic, egocentric, insane characters. I loved it. I gobbled this book. Oh my God, this was a good book. One sitting, I could not stop. I loved this book so much. The review in it is linked, obviously, but oh, I highly recommend this book. I don't know what kind of pets that they would have. I'm going with a bunny. For some reason, I got 2 thoughts in mind. I got the teacher just sitting in a chair, either stroking a cat like Dr. Evil, just masterminding it all, or for some reason, a white bunny with red eyes. I just feel like that just feels right to me, and I can't tell you why. No, I can't tell you why. It just feels right. Carmilla. Okay, Carmilla. That I'm going into some more classic stories, classic horror stories, and Carmilla is obviously one of the first vampire stories. So I wanted to love this more. It was just too short, and the characters were so gullible. 3 stars. I feel Cat is also the correct. Can I give her a bat? Because she's a vampire. No, Cat feels more right. I think you could interpret it as some, not really a love story, a story of obsession, and I don't know. This, I almost need to reread this book again, even though I just read it in May. I only gave it 3 stars just for how fast everything happened. I want a modern retelling of this book. I want a full-length novel of this kind of story, and I just want to explore all the emotions and the depths of it. I'm going to go into more detail than I thought I was going to have to when I do the part 2 of my reading classic horror books. I just want to explore so much more about this character. You could go so deep into this character. I really enjoyed the potential it has. I think that's the best way to describe it. Bitter. Okay, I love Bitter. Bitter, did I get 5 stars? I'm pretty sure I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 stars, 5 stars. Shouldn't have even had to look at that. This is the prequel to Pet, which is probably one of my new favorites as well. I loved Pet so much. Talked about it last time. Bitter is, again, it's about removing the monsters from the world, and there's protests, and it's brutal, and it's unapologetic for how direct the writing is, and I loved it so much. She's an artist, there are painters and sculptors, and they're just trying to stay out of all the protests where it's safe, and her vulnerability, and she feels she's not doing enough, and she should be more supportive for her friends, for everything that's going on in her city, but she's scared and so vulnerable, and I loved this book. I love the angels, I love the message, I love the school, I loved everything. I almost want to reread Pet again. I can't think of what kind of pet that these characters would have. Cat, dog, birds, fish, none of them really feel right. What would be something that someone would have for rebellion and Mockingjay? And standing up strong and fighting for what you believe in, but wanting to be safe at the same time and having to come out of your shell. Would you have a pet turtle? Snapping turtle. I could see her with a snapping turtle. We're going with that. Maybe a pretty snake, but no, snapping turtle. I'm going with snapping turtle. Oh, okay. We are into June. So I read Tender is the Flesh. No pets for any of these characters. They do not get one. No. No pets for a single character in this book. Tender is the Flesh is the most disturbing book I've ever read. And later in this month, I also read, The Girl Next Door. Also no pets for them. But Tender is the Flesh is... Take every animal documentary about the meat industry, the dairy industry, the chicken poultry industry, all the horror stories you've heard about how cruel they could possibly be, replace the animals with humans. That is Tender is the Flesh. Animal meat is no longer viable. It cannot be consumed. But the governments and Big Brother have declared that you cannot lead a full life without consuming some form of meat. So they raise humans as special meat to replace this lack in the industry. It is as disturbing as it sounds. It is so normalized, and it is absolutely devastating. The last line of this book is my only complaint, and sadly the reason I had to give it 4 stars instead of 5, because the first half of this book, for world building and concept and just how disturbing it was a full 5 stars. But the second half lost me. If you know my reading taste, you can figure out why. The main character is given I don't think I'm allowed to, head is what they're referred to. So a person who has been raised to be eaten, he's given one, and I don't like where the story goes with it, obviously. Like I said in the review, I didn't necessarily want it to go into like dystopian overthrow the government. I didn't necessarily want it to. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But whatever the hell that I want it to happen in this book, and again, I don't know, it was not what happened. I did not like where the narrative went. I wish anything else had happened, but I can't dislike it because the first half was so strong. No pets. No pets. They do not deserve one. The Girl Next Door, they also do not deserve one. I'm not talking about this book on this video. I can't. It's Jack Ketchum. It's disturbing. It's based not loosely. It's inspired by a true crime event of one of the most brutal tortures in history, and that is that book. I talk about it in the video I've mentioned twice now already about diving into extreme horror books. This was my extreme horror book that I read for that video. Enter with your own risk. They do not deserve pets. The next book I read was Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm going a little bit more into classics. Again, diving a little bit more into classic horror books as well. I really appreciated the writing. It was beautiful. Oscar Wilde's just style was fantastic. I appreciate the concept of trading your mortality, humanity, nature. He gains youth, he doesn't age, but the painting that was made of him ages. But all the horrible things that's happening to his soul is reflected on the painting. So when he does something terrible, it's reflected in an ugliness on the painting, even though he himself remains beautiful, and him keeping the secret. And it's very much implied that he's doing terrible things. And this book is also misogynistic and terrible characters, horrible, terrible characters. But I can't fault it. I feel like that was an intentional part of the book, and I don't think the author has those views. He's just very good at writing terrible, horrible people as characters. So I appreciate that book. I gave it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it, but the plot was lacking. It was more themes and vibes than actual narrative story plot. Oh, pets. Dorian Gray is getting something showboaty. Like, you know when they had, like, pigeons that they had on for shows and they were specially bred? Or maybe, like, a show dog or something that stands out that wins awards. Probably horses. He would probably go into racing horses. Or what are the dogs that run? Those type of dogs. I'm sorry. They run really fast and they're really skinny. I don't know. Something like that. Something for prestige. Long Way Down. This is a story that's told in verse. It's very personal. It is narrated by the author, and I listened to the audiobook, which is extremely well done. There's talks about cycles of violence. It's about a boy going out for revenge after his brother had been killed, and he's taken a gun that's currently missing one bullet. And as he's going down on the elevator, every floor someone gets in, but the person who gets in is someone from his past who has passed away. And they're just explaining what happened in the life. And again, the cycle of violence is very emotional, very good book. So we probably need a pet that is like that. Something, again, family-centered, but maybe fiercely protective. Something fiercely protective. I think we're going back to dogs, some kind of guard dog. I can definitely see this character having that, but also something that's very loyal and loving and comforting, because he really just needs hugs and protection. The House Across the Lake. I adored this book. Full 5 stars. I'm not apologizing for it. People hate this book so much, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you hate this book. It is woman spies on neighbor. Not really. Yeah, spies on neighbor. Becomes somewhat obsessed, but not quite to the point of stalkery obsessed with her life. She's an alcoholic. And then the woman who she's watching goes missing. Did the husband do it? What's actually happening? Total tone shift. Like, feels like you're reading one book, then all of a sudden someone slaps off the ending that it should be doing and slaps on the ending of another book, and you're just getting whiplash by how fast the tone and genre changes. It's my kind of vibe. I love those tonal shifts when I'm enjoying it. I think when I'm reading a more tropey book, I like when you take the trope and then you don't subvert the trope, you just go off on a completely different turn. I can see this character also having a dog or a cat. Something that could just, probably more of a cat, just hang out with them and then go off and do their own thing. Probably an outdoor cat. This character has an outdoor cat that runs off, gets into mischief, comes back with some blood on its paws, and is just like, what'd you do? Kill a bird? Stop that. She's also not probably wouldn't be a very responsible pet owner, so I can see her having a cat that's outdoors causing havoc on the local environment. I can see that. Hyde. Have I done a rant review? I should do a rant review video. I hated Hyde. Wasted potential so much. I think the wasted potential is too close to a spoiler, so I'm not going to talk about that. Feels like it was written to be YA, and then someone told them halfway through that it doesn't make sense for these characters to be teenagers, because how would they get into this situation if they had parents to sign off on anything? So it's like, well, just age up the characters, and didn't change their personality. It is a character who's lost their family in a murder-suicide, and then she is given the opportunity to win a bunch of money in a game show kind of thing by playing hide and seek. My complaints: hide and seek is not a spectator sport, so I was bored. There were too many characters told from like a third-person-ish narration, and I appreciate the twist. I would have loved the twist if it was handled any way differently, and if the focus was just in another spot. Such generic characters. Yeah, they get a random dog as well, just cause family. And that's it. I'm not even giving you any thoughts, because I did not like this book. Again, 2 stars for concept, 1 star in my heart. Grave Peril, really, Dresden Files, 5 stars. I'm not giving the Dresden Files anything less than 5 stars, okay? Unless some of the short stories, we'll get to them eventually. But Grave Peril, loved it. Ghost, vampires, way too many plot points and narratives that don't quite flow together as nicely as other moments in the series. But it's hilarious. It's action-packed. I love the Dresden Files. Harry is still in his cat face. He still only has Mr. He's still very closed off, but he's opening up. He's making his friends. We're introducing his support system and his allies. He's a very loving pet owner at this point, because like Susan and their relationship, and he's really opened up to her. And then you have the trauma where everything is crashing down around him, and you hope he doesn't like sink back into isolation, but you know he kind of is, and he's not going to open up again unless his friends are there for him and support him and help him out, and that just feels right. Yeah. Oh, this one I DNF Summer Suns. I gave up on trying to read Summer Suns back in June as well. I'm looking for a good LGBT book recommendations in the horror thriller genre, and I thought Summer Suns would be it, and I just could not connect with the characters or the plot or the writing. I bought this like a year ago on publication day, and I can't tell you why I did not connect with it. I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I'm sorry for that. It's like I didn't even make it far enough in this book to give an opinion. I'm so sorry. I wanted to love that book. I wanted those paranormal vibes. I can barely even tell you what it's about. Characters' adopted brother dies, and I think they're both used to see ghosts, and it's just, I didn't make it far enough into the book. I'm sorry. Okay, we're into July. Dowry of Blood. I loved Dowry of Blood so much. I think a new favorite. I need to give it a little bit more time to sit on it, but yes, no. I loved Dowry of Blood. This is basically a story about Dracula's wives, but they never use the term Dracula. They take his name away, and it's just an abusive relationship, and it was so well written, so well handled. The relationship between all the characters, this polyamorous relationship, and the emotions of it, and the writing was beautiful. I loved it so much. I don't know what kind of pet they should have. Something that would outlive them. So a turtle or a parrot or something that, I'll go with the parrot, something that lives a very long time. Let's go with that. I think Are they good? Do they deserve a pet? I think they would. I think they would be responsible, good pet owner. A parrot that does not talk, though. They're very secretive. Ugh. How'd I go from reading a 5-star book to a 1-star book immediately after? Black Phone. I read this because the movie was coming out, and I did watch the movie. I enjoyed the movie, by the way. I wanted to read this, but again, it's a short story. And as I mentioned before, I don't like short stories, so I was really hopeful because I do like short horror. This just felt like a waste of time. Like, nothing happens. What is the point of a short story horror if you're not exploring something? If you're not exploring this weird situation or some kind of emotion or something, it really feels like nothing happened. It gave the basic plot points of what the movie was kind of structured around narratively, but without any of the additional characters or any of the... nothing. I can't tell you without going in spoilers. Nothing happened. It is the if you were to give like the bare bones, beat by beat, like just here's the main steps narratively of what happens with no emotions to it, that's all this book was. Character got into situation. Character is in situation. Character gets out of situation. That's it. That's it. They still deserve a pet though. They weren't bad pet owners. The kid. Oh, I didn't tell you what the plot was about. A kid is kidnapped, and phone rings, and it shouldn't be able to ring. And it's so short, I can't give you anything else. Yeah, it's in like the 90s or 80s or something like that. Family dog. They have a dog. Generic dog. The Root of The Root of Ice and Salt. I'm really looking for a good LGBT book, okay? Plus book. I'm trying. I'm doing my best to find one that I would recommend. In which case, back to Dowry of Blood, obviously. That's my recommendation right now. But the Root of Ice and Salt was not it. This is a Dracula on a boat heading to America. And it is told from the perspective of the ship captain, who is just a terrible person who sexualizes and borderline thinks about harassing all his crewmates. And I appreciate I worded it, I think, a bit better on Goodreads, but I appreciate its place because it was written, I don't know the date, but a very long time ago for Mexican, I think, Mexico society. I don't know. It's a culture that is not ours, but it wouldn't matter if it was because, like, homosexuality was not really accepted, and there was a lot of stigma around it. So putting a gay ship captain at the forefront of the novel was very important and historical and a big risk, and I appreciate that it happened. I appreciate that it was written. I appreciate its place in history, but from a modern day lens and trying to read it, I did not like it. Dracula also doesn't really take a point until like the final chapter of the book, and entertainment, this is not a book that you read that I would recommend for entertainment, just simply for its place in history of... That's all I got. I'm sorry. That's all I got. I didn't enjoy it. Did I give it 1 or 2 stars, I say? 2 stars, because there were a couple scenes at the end, and like I said, just appreciation for how it had been written. Pets. You'd have a cat on a boat. I feel that the ship captain needs a cat. Oh! Okay, sorry. I'm also realizing that I've gone too far. I should have stopped in June. We're talking about July. We are. Sorry. I guess doesn't matter. Even though we're only a couple weeks into July. I'm really sorry. The Woman in the Library. Yeah. 4.5, 5 stars. Love this book. Binged it in a day. 1 sitting. This is like a reverse on the, what's it called? Lock room mystery, where normally it's like a body in a room that's locked. How did the killer get in, get out? In this sense, you hear a woman scream, and there's 4 people at a table in the library, and they're all getting together, and it's like, hey, what was that? And then, not a spoiler, but we know that one of these characters was the murderer, and it's implied that one of these characters is the murderer. And it's like, how could they have done it if they were all together? and it's going to their stories. There's so many twists and turns, and then there is a story within a story, and I loved it. I ate it up. It's my kind of thing where it's only like very short chapters, just interluded between the main story, and I was invested so much in both, in the small little chapters and then the story within the story, the full story. I loved it so much. I don't want to risk going into spoilers. Highly recommend. My only negative, and the reason it didn't get a full 5 stars, was because there was like an insta friendship, and I dislike insta friendship just as much as I like insta love. So that was the only small thing. And I read the last book in the Dresden Files, not last book, the most recent short story collection of the Dresden Files. I forgot the premise of this. I was not giving people pets again. The woman in the library, they don't seem like pet people to me. I think the main character, she's from Australia, who is here working on a like English writing novel project thing. Cat would be a good one. She needs something low maintenance, because as she says, like her muse got to strike her and work on that and ignore everything else. So something very low maintenance. I'm thinking maybe a cat, but I think they'd be jumping up on counters and be too distracting. I know my cat's too distracting. Goldfish, just a fish. That's all she could handle. She's got a lot on her plate. So, back to the Dresden Files. Most recent entry. Short story collection called The Lot. This is so nice. I can't really go into anything without going into spoilers for Battlegrounds. And just know ramifications from Battlegrounds are being felt. There is... we explore the fact that despite Harry having done so much and being so powerful, he can still get beat around, pushed around, but he never actually backs down. He'll stand up for what is right, and it's so nice just seeing him do like a regular PI gig, getting new friends, getting new allies, and I appreciate it so much. I'm giving it full 5 stars, but like objectively speaking, if just by someone who's not a massive fan of the series, probably only a 4. I'm not giving it as low as a 3. It's not happening. But like there are some heavy hitter players in this, and there's just some scenes where I actually burst out laughing for how ridiculous this was, because it's like extremely powerful character shows up, and Harry's just like, called you for a stupid reason, but technically I'm right, so you have to take care of this. And extremely powerful character is just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is why you called me? And it was hilarious. Harry is in his cat and dog phase. He has both pets, obviously. As well as just amassing all the stray animals from the community that now live in his home. That's where he is at. This consists of my accidentally second quarterly wrap-up plus the first couple weeks of July. So that's all I got. I will talk to you later. I've rambled way too much. Bye.